We're going live. All right, welcome to Eastway Elementary in Durham, North Carolina for our February live stream. We are so excited to be here today with these fifth graders from Miss Harris's class, Mr. Waite's class, and Miss McDonald's class. We are so excited for you to be here, and also to the over 40,000 students that are watching across the world, North America. We're glad that you're here today. My name is Dr. Drizzle, and I will be your tour guide as we venture to the world of Valley Forge in Pennsylvania. Now, kids, this is really exciting because this will be a first-time Skype for Valley Forge, and we're going to get to meet some really interesting people, but one in particular, his name is Ranger Bill. So on the Skype today, we're going to ask that you write down some questions or observations you may have. When this is over, you're welcome to email those to me at dacia.jones@dpsnc.net. That's dacia.jones@dpsnc.net, and we will get some more information out to you about more live streams that are coming up. So kids, I need a double thumbs up if you are ready to begin today with our live stream virtual field trip to Valley Forge in Pennsylvania. I think we're almost ready. So Ranger Bill, you give me 5 seconds and here we go.
Hi, boys and girls. It's really nice to have you with us today at Valley Forge National Historical Park over here in eastern Pennsylvania. I'm a National Park Service Ranger, National Park Service, and it's really a pleasure to have you with us, not just from North Carolina, but from a lot of other states too. Now, Ranger Bob is going to introduce the park to you now.
So it looks like we're having a few difficulties there. Is it going to happen, Ranger Bill? Do you think it's coming up? Okay, getting it up on your side?
I think we're getting there. What I think we're going to do is that I'll just proceed myself, if that's okay, Doc.
That sounds great. You keep going.
Okay. Again, boys and girls, it's nice to have you with us today. And we're going to be talking about the iron industry that was in the Valley Forge area. Not just about the American Revolution, but especially about the iron and the engineering and the technology that was an important part of that. When you think of the American Revolution, remember that there were, now if I say 9 colonies, if I say 12, if I say 20, you'll be ready to correct me, won't you? It was 13 colonies. 13 colonies of the French? No. Of Holland? No. Of, let's see, of Germany? Japan? No.
These smart kids are saying America.
Yes. America. 13 American colonies for the British Empire, for England. Okay. So 13 colonies. Now this may surprise you. The population of the 13 colonies at the time of the American Revolution was not quite 3 million people. Then we said, well, why does Ranger Bill say that? Back then, about 3 million people in those 13 colonies, they become states. Now there are 50 states, over 320 million people. Well, that's 240 years ago we're talking about. So it was a small number of people, but what they did was really important. So the 8-year war of the American Revolution, fighting for our freedom, to be dependent on England. Oh, I used the wrong word, didn't I? Not to be dependent. I think if you put the I and the N in front of that word, independent, right? Not to depend. We want our freedom. We're fighting for our independence so that we could be the united colonies of the, I've got that wrong. Not the United Colonies. I can hear some of you saying it now. The United States of America. But England said, oh no, you're not going to be United States. You're going to still be our colonies. And so that's why there was this war. And it went on for a long time. As I mentioned, 8 years. So while the British Army is over here trying to stop these patriots, while the British Army is over here fighting against the patriots, the war goes on and on and on, 8 years. That means there were 8 winter times. In the winter time, they couldn't have big battles and everything. They would all get together, as they say, hunker down, and try to have enough food. They would go into a winter encampment. One of those winter encampments. And you say, Ranger Bill, where are you going with this? Valley Forge is one of those 8 winter encampments where General Washington's army camps for the winter time. You boys and girls will be glad to know that we do not ask you to list the 7 other locations where they wintered. That would be nice of us, wouldn't it? Valley Forge is just one of them. And then why is Valley Forge in all the school books and not the other 7 winter encampments? Why do they mention, everybody's heard of Valley Forge. So let me give you just a little back of the background why Valley Forge is so famous. Okay, I'll start with the bad news, and then we'll give you the good news. While Washington's army was here, let's see, did they have enough clothing? No. Did they have enough food? No. Did they have enough shoes? I think you know where I'm going with this, don't you? It was really rough on the soldiers. They marched in here in December. There was already snow on the ground. And you know, we have a big mall right near Valley Forge today. Here we are, almost 240 years later, and we have a huge mall. I know you're not all going to answer that, but you know the answer. Were there malls back then? No. And so Washington's army marches in where there are farms and there are forests. All right? There's already snow on the ground. And they had to build their own cabins by hand. Now try to imagine this. Shovels, axes, picks, different tools to cut down the wood and to build their own cabins. I wonder where they get these tools in order to build their cabins, to make the roofing and to have the sides and everything else. They could use stone tools, but wouldn't it better to have iron? Oh, iron! Yes. So they have to build all their cabins. They have to build some forts to protect themselves from the British Army. The British Army were only 20 miles away in Philadelphia. They captured Philadelphia. So while they're at Valley Forge, the bad news, as I said, soldiers sickened and died here from disease, not having enough clothing, not having enough food, a lot of rain. We get a lot of rain in the wintertime here mixed with ice. All you students in North Carolina, your winters, especially as you get into the Piedmont, you can have ice storms down there, can't you?
Yes.
At Valley Forge, not only ice storms, but at Valley Forge a lot of snow, and then it melts off, and you have all this mud, and they don't have enough to eat. And they have to not only do they have to build the cabins, they have to cut down all this other wood just to keep warm in the fireplaces. They have to haul water from local rivers or from the wells, so they got to be outside. Do you want to be outside in an ice storm or snow when you're not clothed in wool, when you're clothed in linen and cotton, and you don't have enough? So many of them sickened and died, the soldiers. The bad news again. More men died at Valley Forge. More soldiers died at Valley Forge than any of those up the winter encampments. So there's the bad news. Aren't you glad I got that out of it? Good news. While the Patriot American Army fighting for their independence from Great Britain, while they are here suffering, they get word that a country in Europe jumps in on our side to help us win the war. This famous country in Europe, they didn't like the English. They didn't like Britain. So they're going to help Washington's army. And that country is France. We get a lot of French visitors even today. And they walk up and we say, Vive la France. Okay, we're glad that they're visiting us. The French alliance, there was a famous French officer here. His name is the Marquis General okay, Lafayette. In your classroom, you study about Lafayette. So France to the rescue to send a lot of clothing, to send a lot of equipment, and they sent a lot of ships over here. Ships, warships, to help get their supplies to them. So bad news, high death total at Valley Forge. Good news, France to the rescue. And finally, Valley Forge, the other good news, a German guy shows up here. He was from the German region called Prussia. Notice I didn't say Russia. But near Russia, part of the Germany called Prussia. In fact, he served with a great soldier over in Prussia called Frederick the Great. Well, this German officer comes over here to train Washington's soldiers so that they can fight well. And his name is General von Steuben. When the school kids come to Valley Forge, I make them memorize his name in German. Aren't you glad I'm not going to make you do that? Because his name was Friedrich Wilhelm Leopold Gerhard Augustin von Steuben. Say that quick 5 times. All right.
They're trying.
So, high death total, French alliance, von Steuben. But again, you're wondering, well, why do they call this encampment Valley Forge? How Washington's army is camped here. There were 2 hills, large hills. One of them was called Mount Joy, and the other was called Mount Misery. Nice name. Between Mount Joy and Mount Misery, Valley Creek flows into a river here. Along the valley were 2 iron, you ready for this? Were 2 iron forges. Oh, iron forge. Valley Forge, that's why it has the name. Okay. Now, in those days, when you were going to build something, and you had to want to do it on your own, you could use wood. There was a lot of wood in North America. Can you imagine the whole country, not just in North Carolina, but all you other students from out in the Midwest, could be Michigan, all the way to California, maybe up in Canada. Everything's covered by forests, at least a good part of it. So you would use wood to build with. But you can't have tools with wood that much. They had stone tools, like the Native Americans would use, and they could make mortar and cement. But what you really want, you want iron tools. You want iron, okay? And so here in Pennsylvania, they were a leader in iron manufacturing. In order to make iron, you've got to dig some stuff out of the ground. It requires mining. It just so happened that Pennsylvania had very rich deposits of iron ore, all right? These ores, and they didn't have to dig deep to get it. A lot of times when you want iron ore, you have to have your mine shafts go real deep into the ground. Oh, no, that's not. You get rich iron ore deposits close to the surface. So you need iron ore to make iron. And you need limestone. Limestone. Oh, we have a lot of that. That's this part of Pennsylvania. You got your limestone. You've got your iron ore to make it. Then you need, I wonder if, do they have natural gas or electricity for, you've got to have these forests to burn all this wood to make, well, you've heard of it, to burn all this wood to make charcoal. Have you ever had where you, like 4th of July in the summer, and you have a cookout and go and buy a bag of charcoal? That's carbon. That's carbon, and it makes a lot of heat. So they have the forests to burn wood to make charcoal. They have limestone. They have iron ore. And you, in a furnace, you mix all that together. Voila, you get iron. What they call pig iron. You ready for this? So you get your charcoal, and you dump that in the furnace. Then you take the limestone. Then you take the iron ores, okay? And the furnace has a blast. That doesn't mean it has a good time. A blast means you hold this fire. You take all the iron, the hot iron, and you put it in these molds that look like little pigs. So we call it pig iron. And the pig iron, so you have the pig iron, which is like in a raw state, okay? So you have these little pigs, They'd be about 3 feet long by 1 foot long. You take the pig iron and you send it to a blacksmith, a fort. They say, okay, Ranger Bill, you kind of lost me for the iron furnace, where you do the mining for the limestone and the iron ore, you have all the wood charcoal, that's what you make the raw iron, the pig iron. And you have these pigs, they're like 2.5 feet by 2.5. You're gonna send that to a forge. Oh, Washington's men say it's called Valley Furnace? No, it's called Valley Forge. And you send the pig iron, either you float it down on a barge, or on wagons, you ship this heavy iron to a forge. They're the blacksmith. Some of you have heard of a blacksmith. They're the blacksmith. He has charcoal too. They cut down all these trees, and the pig iron is going to go through the fire. So they have a fire, and in order to purify the iron, to make, there's another vocabulary term, to make wrought iron. W-R-O-U-G-H-T, I'll repeat it. W-R-O-U-G-H-T. Wrought iron means low-grade steel. With low-grade steel, you can really make things. They're hard and strong. So there's the blacksmith, that's big anvil. He puts the pigs in to reheat that pig iron, the raw iron. And to really get that fire hot, to get that fire real hot, they have these big canvas bellows. The bellows are over 8 feet high, and the bellows suck in the air, and they push it out there, and you get all this force of air, more oxygen. Oh, that's a hot fire. And the blacksmith has his hammers, and they take that, and they shape it, and they pound the pig iron to make wrought iron. And you say, well, what's so important about wrought iron? Anchors for ships, chains, tools. Oh, there's just a whole bunch of list. Hinges, pots, cans, spikes. A whole bunch of iron stuff you can make. The British didn't want, other countries, say England, they didn't want us making low-grade steel or wrought iron. They wanted us to ship all the pigs back to England. The Americans said, no, we're going to make our own iron that helps in the war effort. The British marched to Valley Forge right before the winter time. British Army of 14,000. That's in September, before Washington's army marched in December. They found the new forges that the Patriot American force were using. If you're going to take, and in the forge make wrought iron, and you're going to use that iron to help the American patriot cause against the British, what do you think the British did to the iron forges, Valley Forge? They destroyed them, they burned them, and they destroyed over 500 barrels of iron supplies that the Patriots wanted to use. And so it was a smoking ruins when Washington's army marched in here. Fortunately, they got other iron furnaces in Pennsylvania. They got other iron forges, and the war drags on. Eventually, we have our independence. Wow. So in the midst of getting the good news that France is to the rescue, that France has come to help us, I mentioned Lafayette, who was here with Washington's army to help us win the war, General Lafayette. I failed to mention a 70-year-old man who used to fly kites in electrical storage. Now, I can see some of you right now saying, oh, I've heard of Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin's in Paris. If Benjamin Franklin's not in Paris in the 8 years of the Revolution, I don't think we win our freedom. He helps to get the French to ship over a lot of money here, and clothing, and food, and gunpowder. We could make gunpowder, but we really like French gunpowder, the chemical mix. Some of you have maybe heard of the DuPont Chemical Company. DuPont, Henri Dupont Briot, right here in this area, French recipe. They started with gunpowder and under a chemical company. But you see, the iron and steel part of the story of Valley Forge and the American Revolution, that technology in having what they call blast furnaces. They had slitting mills. I'm getting into details. A slitting mill with pig iron is to make nails and maybe horseshoes. You see, Ranger Bill, why is that so important? If you don't have nails, how do you get stuff to stick together? I mean, you can do it, but it's hard. Horseshoes. You know what horseshoes were at the time? Tires, like you have on your cars, or like trucks. If you don't have horseshoes for the horses that are moving supplies, your army doesn't move. Do you see why iron furnaces and iron forges are so important, that technology? And why it's so important to find iron ore deposits and limestone and hardwoods to make fire and charcoal and industry. That's science. And the engineering to make the iron to support the army. And it helps the Navy too. I talked about anchors. I forgot to tell you about anchor chains and the hinges that you used on ships too. Even making lightning rods. Let's see, who was that invented the lightning rod? Oh, I forgot. Dr. Benjamin Franklin. To direct lightning away from the building and get it down, to divert it away, you have iron spikes at the top of a building or on the tallest mast of a ship. And what's it made out of? I can hear you all now. Iron. Thanks to Dr. Franklin. Thanks to the iron industry of the early United States. Now, I've been droning on and on and going into this. Hopefully you see the importance of the iron industry and what happened to Washington's Army at Valley Forge. Some of you now, and I'm going to stop chirping at you a little bit here. There may be some questions.
Yes. So we do, and I want to introduce a friend of mine, and he's actually going to tell you his name and what grade he's in, and then he has one question for you.
My name is Joash, and I am in 5th grade. And I would like to ask you, how long have you been working there?
Well, I've got to tell you, when I realized how old I am, you know, George Washington, he turned 46 years of age here. And I'm going to let you know, I'm older than that. I've been with the National Park Service. You're going to find this hard, maybe you won't find this hard to believe. I've been a park ranger for over 25 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have another question for you, Ranger Bill, and then first of all, thank you so much. That is a lot of information you've given us in a very helpful way, and I know that our students are going to use some strategies to try to share this back with people in the school. One of the ways they're probably going to share it out is something called a 6-word story. We're going to think about what you said and come up with 6 words, sort of summarizes what they learned today. But one question I want to ask you for them is, if they wanted to work at a national park, what would they need to be doing in school right now that would help them get a job at a national park?
That's such a good question. The first thing I'd say, what to do in school now is to pay attention to all your studies. Whether it's English, for communication skills, you want to be able to read and to write very well. Science. That's a big part of what we do. Because now, our story about General Washington and the Army at Valley Forge, you say, well, that's just history, Ranger Bill. What do you mean science? Iron technology, agriculture, like what they're growing, and biology. Park rangers, aren't we outside a lot? Where we're out on the grounds, we have over 3,500 acres here. Natural resources, water conservation, geology, hydrology. So in science, in my case, not just history, you can have areas that you can move into the Park Service. We offer a lot. Oh, even criminal, when you're studying for law enforcement. So there would be a lot of opportunities with you in different careers in Park Service. That was a good question, Doctor. Thank you.
All
right, so I'm actually at the front of the room right now, Ranger Bill, and I just want to say again, thank you so much for coming today and talking with us. I know that we've learned a lot. So let me go ahead and give you your assignment, Eastway and all the other schools that are watching. I'm looking for a 6-word story, just 6 words, that will describe what you learned today. What I encourage you to do is to tweet out the 6 words or give it to your teachers and they can share it with me of something you learned. Now with the 6-word story, you do not have to put the words in a complete sentence. You just give words that describe what you've learned. So for those of you watching it out there on the internet, you can tweet that out to @Dacia92, D-A-C-I-A 92, and we will share that with Valley Forge. And we are just, again, so excited that we were able to meet Ranger Bill. And there's some other people here that you can't see if they want to pop their heads in really quickly. But Picola is one of the men that I've worked with. He actually has a job there that's very cool. He's a visual informational technologist. So he works with all the things. There he is, he's waving right there. Again, thank you so much for participating in our live stream today. We're at Eastway Elementary School. Next month, we'll join again to do some really cool things with HGTV and the DIY Network. Thank you so much, everyone. We are going off air right now. Thanks so much. Dr. Drizzle out.